Welcome back to Mr. Magazine, your destination for raw, honest conversations from the heart of celebrity life. Before you read on, take a moment to subscribe, press like, and if you want to support us directly, click the join button. Your engagement helps us keep bringing exclusive, human stories like this to light. In a rare and deeply personal interview, Kerem Bürsin has stepped out of the shadows and delivered a measured, revealing account of the reasons that led to his breakup with Hande Erçel, a relationship that captured public attention, inspired countless headlines, and left a devoted audience yearning for clarity. What the actor chose to disclose is not the tabloid fodder of infidelity or petty quarrel. Rather, it is an introspective account that frames their separation as the outcome of two people quietly attempting to reshape one another. Bürsin's words are cautious yet candid, steeped in respect, and they offer a window into the emotional logic that ultimately led them to part ways. From the outset, Bürsin was deliberate about honoring the past. He described the relationship with Hande as filled with beautiful and unforgettable moments, an acknowledgement intended not to romanticize nor to dramatize, but to remind listeners of the genuine warmth that once existed between them. He positioned those memories as real and worthy, not as props for gossip, but as chapters in his life that deserved dignity. Yet the tone shifted quickly from nostalgia to clarity. The central thesis of Bürsin's statement was straightforward and quietly consequential. Each partner began to expect, in different ways, that the other should alter who they were. Over time we realized we were trying to change each other, he said. I wanted to remain as I had always been, she wanted to see a different side of me. The admission reads like a diagnosis of a relationship illness, not malicious, but corrosive. The gradual belief that love should be a project of reinvention rather than an acceptance of the person as they stand. This explanation landed in the public domain with an emotional potency that surprised many. For a culture used to sensational conclusions, affairs, public betrayals, financial disputes, Bürsin's account offered a subtler, more mature narrative. It was not a spectacle, it was a philosophy of heartbreak. He framed the split not as a failure of feeling but as a mutual recognition of incompatibility in growth paths. Separating was the right decision, Bürsin concluded, not with triumph, but with a calmness that suggested acceptance rather than regret. What struck listeners most was the actor's insistence on preserving the dignity of both parties. He refrained from casting blame and instead emphasized the difficulty of the process. It wasn't simple, he said, adding, I have always felt deep love and respect for Hande. But sometimes, keeping the love intact requires letting go rather than forcing transformation. Here Bürsin articulated a paradox of attachment, that love can demand surrender to the other's autonomy rather than attempts at redesigning them into a preferred version. Responses across social platforms were immediate and varied. Admirers expressed sorrow at the dissolution of a beloved couple. Others lauded Bürsin for his vulnerability and his refusal to participate in nasty public disputes. Many commentators pointed to the public nature of celebrity love, noting that the pressure to present an idealized partnership can itself catalyze attempts to shape a partner's behavior or persona. For those who watched Bürsin and Hande on screen, the confession rekindled memories of on-screen chemistry and off-screen tenderness, moments that had felt to fans like evidence of an enduring bond. From a broader perspective, the conversation touched on fundamental questions about relationships in the modern age. Where is the line between gentle influence and coercive transformation? At what point does encouragement to change become an erasure of the self? Bürsin's statement implicitly invited such reflections. In a culture that often equates romantic success with constant compromise, his words reminded audiences that compromise should not equate to personal effacement. Throughout the interview, there were moments when Bürsin's voice betrayed the emotional strain of the experience. He spoke of nights of introspection, of conversations that failed to resolve the growing dissonance, and of a slow acceptance that loving someone sometimes means stepping back to preserve both people's integrity. He did not portray himself as the wounded hero nor as a stoic conqueror of fate. Rather, he emerged as a person who had learned a difficult lesson about the limits of love and the importance of boundaries. Equally telling was what he did not say. Bürsin avoided sensational details and refrained from publicly speculating about Hande's private intentions or emotional state. In doing so, he maintained a line of respect that many observers appreciated. He acknowledged the pain and the shared affection, but he would not convert intimacy into ammunition for public consumption. That restraint, surprisingly, became part of the story, a celebrity refusing to indulge the hunger for scandal and instead offering a model of discretion. What does this mean for the public image of both actors? In the short term, the confession revitalizes interest in their personal narratives, as news cycles are wont to do, but it also complicates the simplistic narratives often offered by tabloids. Bürsin's explanation resists melodrama. It compels fans to recalibrate their understanding of what goes wrong in romantic partnerships. Fans who once projected a fairy tale onto the couple are now being asked to consider the less glamorous but perhaps truer realities of emotional compatibility and personal autonomy. To the followers of Mr. Magazine, this interview opens a door for collective reflection. We want to hear from you. Have you witnessed relationships where attempts to change a partner slowly undermined mutual affection? Do you believe Kerem's account reframes how we should interpret celebrity breakups? Share your stories and opinions in the comments below. Your insights help shape the conversation. Beyond the interpersonal dimensions, Bürsin's remarks also highlight the strain placed on relationships by fame itself. Under constant public scrutiny, private struggles are frequently projected onto the public stage, and the pressure to conform to a romantic ideal can exacerbate internal tensions. Bürsin's message implicitly suggests that fame is not merely a backdrop but an active force that can push couples toward performative stability rather than authentic coexistence. As the interview concluded, Bürsin returned to a tone of gratitude. He reiterated his respect for what they had shared and his belief that the choice to separate was made with care and thought. There was no triumphalism in his words, no gloating to satisfy gossip columns. Instead, there was a steadiness that suggested a man who had accepted a difficult truth and moved forward with dignity. Before we close this segment, remember to support Mr. Magazine by subscribing and clicking join if you'd like to see more exclusive interviews and thoughtful coverage of celebrity life. If this piece resonated with you, hit like and leave a comment. Tell us whether you think celebrities should be more guarded or whether they owe the public transparency about their private lives. Finally, this confession reminds us that the most compelling stories are rarely those of dramatic betrayal. They are the quiet, complicated accounts of two people who once loved and determined that separation was the most honest form of care. Kerem Bürsin's decision to speak candidly about his relationship with Hande Erçel offers a fresco of modern love. Beautiful, fragile, and sometimes defined by the courage to let go. Thank you for reading this exclusive report from Mr. Magazine. Stay tuned for ongoing coverage as we monitor reactions, statements, and the broader conversation that this interview is sure to produce. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and join our channel to keep supporting responsible, in-depth storytelling.